Good morning, More Than Commas community, More Than Commas family, daily tilt truth seekers. It's good to have you guys. We're talking a little bit more about things I learned today while I'm up in here in the North Cascades National Park. And talking a little bit today about what I refer to as submit, detach, and prefer. Now, some of you may have heard this from me before, but it's this basic idea that we know life doesn't go the way that we would like it to go. We set our plans and then life happens. And what this can do is have us put ourselves in the position where we stop wanting to have strong aims for the future or having strong goals. We back out of it because of the times that it hasn't worked out for us. But if we give up wanting to produce the outcomes that we want, well, then we definitely are only going to get the outcomes we want by accident, by default, rather than by design. So when you think about what you want out of the future, I want you to not think of it as a goal. I want you to think of it as an aim. Now, much like a rifleman trying to sight in his rifle, what he's going to need to do is take a similar position every time, say on a bench, and hold his body the exact same way every single time, so that he knows consistently that his actions produce a certain outcome. Because each time he aims and takes a shot, he discovers what he can do to aim better next time. Now, that works really well if every time you miss, you don't end up really upset and bothered by it. If each time that you miss, you just correct and move on. So that requires a certain amount of mood control. And that's where submit, detach, and prefer comes in. So if you've got something that's heavy in your life, something you're dealing with, some outcome that's unknown. I had a coach years ago tell me, he says, how much are you responsible for being born in 78? I said, nothing, zero. How responsible are you for the fact you were born in the United States? Nothing. How about that you're born to a two-parent household? Nothing. Like huge amounts of my life that I had zero control over. And even though I had zero control over it, it did attribute to 99% of the success I'm going to see in life. Was this dependence on initial circumstances over which I had no control. And then he said to me, he says, why do you think you have any more control over this next client meeting? If you didn't have control over all that, what makes you think you have control whether this client wants to do business with you or not? I'll show you guys this creek that I'm walking through sort of in a minute. And I said, well, I guess I didn't have any control of that. He says, then you don't have any control over your next meeting beyond being prepared. And your job is to be able to be prepared to show up and tell people the truth about your offer. It's their job to choose that they're gonna listen to you or not. You don't have any control over that. You'll see this car navigating this little overflow here. This is a big road washout, looks like it's happened. Pulled in here at like almost midnight last night, and I wasn't sure when I started hitting all this gravel in this road washout if I was going to be able to get through. But once you submit, okay, God is in control. Now everybody has their own different religious preferences, but pretty much everybody can acknowledge, whether you call it the universe, Gaia, Buddha, Allah, somebody's in charge and it's not us. And once you realize that, you go, okay, well, there's a lot that I don't need to worry about. I can submit that to the Lord. And what that allows me to do is immediately emotionally detach from the outcome. But then I still have to act with my preferences. I'll give you an easy example. Somebody, imagine if you and I went to lunch. And when we went to lunch, as lunch is finishing out, we had a nice conversation with the waitress and the hostess and the busboy. And at the end of lunch, they say, what would you like for dessert? And I say, I'd like cherry pie. And they say, oh, we don't have any cherry pie, we just ran out. What if then I just start losing my mind, screaming and yelling, flipping the table over, I can't believe you don't have cherry pie. Or what if I start crying hysterically? Well, everybody in the restaurant would immediately look at us and go, that person is losing their mind. They're insane. Now, why would I look insane? Because obviously I had no control over whether or not they had pie. Obviously. And so for me to get upset about it would look crazy to everybody watching. Now, I could have screwed up the pie myself. You see, I still have to act with my preferences, which means you walk in the restaurant, you treat the hostess kindly, you treat the waiter kindly, treat the busboy kindly. Because Lord knows I could act poorly, and for any of you that ever worked in food service before and your favorite customer's coming in later today and they like the cherry pie and your jerk customer wants the cherry pie, the jerk customer doesn't get the cherry pie. Your good customer that comes in later today does. So you could act in a way that the circumstances won't line up for you to get what you want. That's why you always have to act with your preferences for the outcome. That's where your aims come in. Where you say, here's where I want to go in life. Well, like if I wanted to go out across this lake in a boat, all I do is pick a part of the shoreline over there and start working toward it. Well, there's going to be drift and current, but I have my aim point that I can aim off of. Well, that's your preferences. But then if you can realize, and I would really articulate, especially if you find yourself agitated or anxious about some business and life stuff, take some time and write out like how much this thing is not in your control, what little is in your control, and then what are you going to do to have the best outcome inside of your control. And then once you realize everything else is outside your control, which we don't do very often, it can really allow you to relax. Because yes, you don't know how it's going to go. But through that reflection, you can remove from yourself the illusion that you had control over how it was going to go anyway. And you'd be amazed how much of the stress, anxiety, agitation, anger, nervousness, and upset come from people not being able to detach from the results. And it causes worry. I really like something, it's a page I took a picture from a book. I will send it to Marla and have her somehow get it in a link in this. But it talks about worry and how worry never produced an outcome. You know, nobody ever sat around the table, said, boy, I didn't think I'd be able to pay my bills. So my family and I got around the table and we worried and cussed and screamed and cried about it. And glory, glory to worry. All my financial problems were solved. Said nobody ever. But we do. We worry and we're anxious, etc. So I liked at the end of this piece, it says, worry is irrelevant because it's doing nothing. But worry is also irreverent because we're not trusting God. Now, I'll have, if you guys could imagine driving into this, inches of water running over the roadway. I'm having to drive over these chunks of rubble. I don't know when all this washout happened, probably in the last week or two by the looks of it. And you pull in and you go, oh my gosh, what's this gonna be? Right? If I drove up here thinking I wasn't gonna have a 4x4 expedition at the start with a water crossing, that could make me nervous or upset. But instead, it's like, oh, well, maybe I don't stay here. Maybe I have to stay across the road. Or maybe I drive home. But being detached from the outcome puts me in a position that I can really not only enjoy the situation I'm in that I might not have chosen, but I can design a better next step from that situation I wouldn't have chosen to be in. Now here I got this is where the water's running across the road. I'll see if Marla can turn the camera around to show how this is. Well, it's running up over my boots right now. I gotta move faster. Whoo, now my feet are cold. But I wanted you guys to get the shot. So, yeah, this is some big snow melt or rain runoff happening, but I have never seen it run through this campground like this before. So, leaving you guys with this idea of submit, detach, and prefer, that you can submit what you've got to the Lord. Everything leading up to the circumstances of what you're worried about, if it's a health thing, it's like you've already eaten all the stuff you've eaten up until this time, or you've worked out or not worked out up to this time. You can't change that. You can submit yourself to the circumstances, to the environment, to the things that you can't change. That'll allow you to detach from the result, and then you work with your aims. What are you looking to produce in different areas of your life? And then you continue to act with your preference and aim toward the future you want. But by submit and detach, you put yourself in the position where all of that extra energy and agitation about how it's going to turn out just isn't the same for you. And it can be a great gift of being able to be present and really enjoy, because most of your difficult situations are an important part of your journey. Mine too. And too often, because we haven't submitted and detached, the challenging, tough things, all of that, might have turned out to be great memories if we didn't have worry, anxiety, upset, and anger attached to them. So it really can be a chance to submit, detach, and prefer, not only perform better in high pressure situations, but maybe more importantly, have a better memory of your own life. It's like you're getting to do the live edit as you go and edit out all of those agitating and upsetting emotions along the way. So with that, that's today's tilt. Things I learned today. I hope to see you back here later this week. Now get back out there and have a great life.